Let's start our questions here with Nick Hamilton.
Hey, Amon-Ra, congratulations on getting to this point and beyond. Wanted to ask you, being the explosive playmaker receiver that you are and the fluidity that you display on the field, what are some of the areas that you want to highlight to these NFL teams on your pro day?
I think for me, going out there, obviously you want to test well in everything that I do. Vert, bench, 40, shuttle drill. Obviously, you want to test well. But I think for me, running routes, just showing, the scouts, that I'm fluid, like you said, come in and out of my breaks well, can catch the ball, good speed, all that. Just, trying to be flawless out there because it's just on air. So, trying to do everything right.
Okay, we'll go to Mateus Ornelas.
Mar, Matheus Ornelas from Time of Brazil. Congratulations for going for the NFL draft. In this class of wide receivers, we have like a bunch of guys who can do a lot of and different things. What do you think that's your main main quality that you're bringing for the game and for the NFL?
I think for me, like you said, I think this class is very deep. We have a lot of good receivers in this class. And I think that's awesome for the NFL, for young talents, for them to have young talent come in and, for them to have so much to choose from. But for me, I think where I think I separate myself is I think, I'm super competitive. That's one of the things that I've always been since I was a kid growing up. Super competitive. I hate losing. So I think just being one of the most competitive guys, in that room, quick, can make a turn a 10-yard play into an 80-yard play. And just consistency. I think I'm one of the most consistent guys there is.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Jeff Fisher.
Hey, Amon-Ra. It's Jeff Fisher from High School Football America. Seems like only yesterday we were celebrating our back-to-back mythical national championships, and that's where I'm going to ask the question, which is, could you kind of compare and contrast winning those national titles in high school with your buddies, and now you're on the precipice of the pinnacle, right, playing the NFL? Can you put those two together and kind of sort them out for me?
Yeah, I think, in high school, I think high school was an awesome time for me, being at Mater Dei, one of the powerhouse schools that there is now. I mean, especially after, when I first got there, it wasn't the school that it is now. So being able to, experience a national championship with a lot of great players that I had in high school was an awesome feeling. And, in high school, my dream was always, to play college football and hopefully play in the NFL. So being so close to, finally living out my dream is an amazing feeling. I love my time at USC. I wouldn't change it for the world. And to finally be in this step now, I mean, there's nothing I couldn't ask for anything more.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
We'll go to Antonio Morales.
Hey, Amon-Ra. I spoke to your dad last year, and he said that you're the type of kid who, if you could go to the NFL straight from high school, you would. How long has this realistically been the goal for you?
The NFL has been the goal of mine since I was a kid. I played a lot of different sports growing up between, basketball, football, and soccer. But, I've always knew when I was a kid that I wanted to be a professional athlete. I just didn't know in what sport. But, once I got to high school, I kind of stopped playing those other two sports and really focused on football. And for me, like I said, I always wanted to be a professional athlete. So that was always been the goal of mine. But there's steps that you got to take in between. Obviously, you got to go to high school. You want to play varsity. Once you're playing varsity, you want to make an impact. Then after that, you want to go to college, go to a good college. And then after that, once you get that, you want to, play in college. And so I think there's steps that go into it. So it didn't just happen overnight. But for me, I've always wanted to play in the NFL. It's always been a dream of mine. You can ask all my friends since I was a kid. And for me, like I said, being this close, it's surreal.
How much does having an older brother who's gone through the process help you in this time?
I think it helps me a lot because, like I said, I mean, obviously my process is a little different than his was with COVID and everything. He had the combine interviews and whatnot, but I mean, he guides me through things. He tells me what I need to watch out for. But, with the interviews and everything that I have done so far and that I have in the future, I mean, what he tells me is, it's nothing that I'm not prepared for. He thinks, with my upbringing that, I'll be prepared for whatever they have coming for me.
Okay, Adam Grossbart.
Amon-Ra, how do you feel playing in the air raid helped prepare you for the NFL?
I mean, I think the air raid was awesome for us, especially for me as receivers, for all of us in that receiver room. You know, getting different plays. You know, Graham Harrell played in the NFL. Kerry Coble, our receiver coach, played in the NFL. So being, you know, with them every day and kind of, you know, having them guide us through what the offense looks like, and, you know, certain routes, certain plays. And I think just going out there and, you know, catching a lot of balls is something that you can never do enough of as a receiver. So, you know, being out there running a lot of pass plays, seeing a lot of different looks on defense from other teams that they gave us, I think was awesome, you know, preparation for me for the next step.
Brian Carchi.
Hey, Amon, what do you feel like you learned over the course of just kind of playing through these strange circumstances of this past pandemic season? And where do you feel like your game kind of took the biggest step forward during that time?
I think for me, you know, the biggest thing I think during this COVID year was, you know, you never knew what to expect. Whether it was, you know, having to say, you know, you have a COVID test at 8 a.m., you get there and someone's positive and the game's canceled, or, you know, you have practice at 3 o'clock, but it has to be pushed back to 5 because the air quality isn't right. So I think for me, this COVID year was just something to, you know, remember and, you know, kind of take in a sense that you never know what to expect and you always got to be ready for what's next. So I think you kind of bring that with you in life, where, you know, whatever happens in life, you just got to bounce back and keep pushing. And I think, you know, the area where I improved most this past year, I think just being that leader for my teammates. Obviously being named captain, you kind of have that responsibility, and, you know, being a leader, helping. I think the biggest thing that I, you know, tell these teams right now is the thing that I'm most proud of is, you know, having gone from a 5-7 season my freshman year to, you know, 8-5 the next, and then a 5-1 the following year. So each year we got better, which was awesome to see for me, you know, being through all 3 years of those. So I think that's, you know, something that I'm really proud of.
Okay, Rashawn.
Hey, Amon-Ra. Kind of a two-part question here. What do you think is your biggest strength? And then also, what have you heard from teams in terms of whether it be an inside guy or an outside guy?
I think my biggest strength, like I said, I'm super competitive. So I think that gets me through a lot. You know, being super competitive can obviously help anyone. I think my intelligence, so my ability to, you know, pick up plays, pick up defenses and whatnot, my quickness, and then my ability to fill open zones is something that, you know, I think is very good. And from different teams, you know, I've different teams that told me different things. Obviously, some teams see me in the slot, and then some teams said they see me moving inside and outside. So, you know, each team is different, each scheme is different, and so, you know, just both, definitely inside and outside for some teams.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, we'll go to Maximilian Haupt.
Thanks very much. Hey, Amon-Ra. What would it mean to you to help increase interest in Germany and maybe one day have kids wear your name on the back of a jersey because of you?
Yeah, I think, you know, trying to connect with the German, you know, the German fans and the German side is something that I'm really, you know, trying to do right now and looking forward to in the future, because, you know, football in Germany is becoming a much bigger, you know, topic and sport out there. Obviously, soccer has always been the big sport, but with football becoming, you know, more of a point of interest for fans in Germany, I think, you know, being there's not very few German football players in the NFL. So being one of them, I definitely want to create and branch out to Germany. Hopefully, you know, I can, you know, do a camp out there or something in the future to really help out kids that, you know, really love football out there and love the game.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Next, Jennifer Lee Chan.
Hi, Amon-Ra. I cover the 49ers for NBC Sports Bay Area. The 49ers receivers really pride themselves on getting yards after catch. It's a different mentality they have. Do you feel like you share that?
Definitely. I definitely feel like, you know, yards after catch is something that I pride myself in. You know, a lot of guys can make a catch and, you know, make a nice, you know, catch on the sideline. But I think for me, like you said, one of the big things as a receiver is to get those yards after the catch, because, you know, you can turn a 5-yard catch into a 30-yard gain or even a 50-yard touchdown. So I think definitely yards after the catch is huge as a receiver, and I take that very seriously.
Have you had contact with the 49ers?
You know, I was told not to say anything, so I prefer not to say.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go to Ryan Young.
What's the biggest question you think teams have about you were the biggest opinion you're trying to influence or impact this week at Pro Day and through your interviews?
I think, some of the things that teams talk about is my speed. Some teams question my speed. So I think for me, the tape, you can look at the tape. I run past guys, but I think for me, the 40-yard dash is going to be a big event for me. And I think I'll run well. I'm not worried about it, but, that's some of the areas that some of the teams, have expressed interest or worry in. And then, a few teams said my strength. So kind of excited to hop on that bench press and show a team something right there.
Nick Hamilton, you had another question?
Hey, Amon-Ra. You said earlier the goal has always been the NFL. So what are some of the wide receivers or players that you looked up to that inspired you, or you took a piece of what they had and put it into your arsenal?
So, growing up as a kid, I just watched football as a fan. I was just watching teams. I wasn't really, studying a position. But as I got older and, once I got to college, when I watched, games, I'd watch receivers. So, I really say in college, some of the guys that I watch is, I like Steve Smith. He's kind of older, but I liked watching his Panthers tape, things that he did. Obviously, one of our coaches, Kerry Colbert, played with him. So, he had some film of him that he showed us sometimes. But Steve Smith is one of the receivers I like watching. Now I like watching guys like Keenan Allen. I think he's awesome. I think he does a great job in the slot. Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Antonio Brown back on the Steelers, and even Odell Beckham. I think those guys are just explosive and awesome.
Ryan Young.
After the season, was it just a clear decision for you, or was there a real debate to be had about whether or not to come back for one more year or go to the draft? And with that, what feedback did you get from the league in terms of draft grade and that stuff?
Yeah, I think, after the season, like I said, the NFL has always been a dream of mine. But after the season, definitely, you submit your grade, and my grade came back second, third round. So for me, with COVID happening and everything that happened this last season, I didn't know what the future was going to hold at USC, whether, there was going to be another shortened season or how everything was going to play out. And for me, I played early. I was blessed to play early as a freshman at USC, and then had a good sophomore year and a pretty good junior year. So, I felt like I did a lot at USC, and the NFL has always been a dream of mine. And so for me to finally, to be able to pursue my dream and play in the NFL, I think it was, a no-brainer for me that, I wanted to play at that next level.
Great. Thanks and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's go back to Rashawn Haylock.
Hey, Amon-Ra, I know you sort of expected to be here, but is it sort of surreal at the same time? I mean, your dad is kind of, he talks all the time how he's kind of prepped you guys for this from the time when you were really young, lifting weights at, 5 years old in the garage and things of that nature. So how surreal is it to finally be on the cusp of this opportunity?
Yeah, being, from a young, like you said, having two older brothers with my dad, him pushing us, it's kind of, crazy to think that I'm here now. But, what I tell most people is it's not like it's happened overnight. I've been working for a long time, and there's a process that goes through it from high school to college to playing well in college to this next level. So it's not like it happened overnight. It's not like I didn't see it coming, but it's definitely, I think when my name was called on draft night, it's definitely going to be an awesome, surreal feeling for me.
Okay, we'll go to Eric McKinney.
Hey, Amon-Ra, do you go into Wednesday with any kind of benchmarks in mind for numbers or times or anything like that?
I think for me, yeah, obviously 4.4 for the 40. That's my benchmark. It's always been my benchmark this whole, training for these last 2-3 months. Bench press, I want to hit 25. So we'll see if I can hit that. My vert, anything, above a 38. And then, on the other things, just, fast times, whatever, I'm gonna go out there and run the shuttle and whatnot and do my fastest. So that's really been my marks.
Back to Ryan Young.
Yeah, one more for me. Amon-Ra, when you look back on your 3 years at USC, how does it kind of compare to maybe what your expectations were coming in?
I think, for me, my 3 years were definitely fun. And I had, like I said, I love my time at USC. I wouldn't change it for the world. my freshman year, obviously I was lucky enough to play early, and that was awesome. You can't ask as a freshman, you can't ask for much more than, to even get on the field. So to play early as a freshman and make an impact was awesome. My sophomore year, to play with, guys like Tyler Vaughns, Michael Pittman, alongside them was, something that, I would look back on and say, man, we had a pretty deep receiver room that year. So just playing with guys, having awesome receivers next to you in the same room. Obviously last year with the COVID year, getting to the Pac-12 championship, it was a little different, but came a little bit short, but that year was definitely unforgettable with the circumstances at hand. So I think, my past 2 years were awesome, and I loved all bit of it.
We have a follow-up from Jennifer Lee Chan.
Amon-Ra, how much pride do you take in your route running and also your football IQ?
I take a lot of pride in my route running. That's something that I like to work on all the time. Obviously, there's different ways to run a curl route, and there's different ways to run a slant route. For me, I like studying guys. Like I said, Instagram is awesome nowadays. There's clips that, certain accounts will post, and it's just that receiver zoomed in. Sometimes when you watch NFL football, it's tough to see that receiver's route because they're so, focused on the whole play at hand. So, Instagram is nice for me to, save certain videos that I see from certain players. Obviously, you can watch tape. But, route running is something that I like to work on, being crafty in my route running. And what was the last thing you asked?
Your football IQ, being
My
faced
football
with
IQ.
NFL.
Yeah, I think, studying tape is huge. I think in college, we watched a lot of film with our receiver coach. And, Kerry did a great job of teaching us how to watch film. He played in the league. He knew, defenses that we were seeing out there that, a lot of us never knew or even heard of. So, sharing a room with Coach Kerry Colbert was awesome. But I'm looking to the next step and looking forward to, learning more about defenses and, more a student of the game. They say at the next level, the sport is much more cerebral. So I'm excited for that.
Thank you.
Okay, last call for any questions for Amon. Okay, Amon, looks like we've taken your time and appreciate all that you did here today. We wish you best of luck in the future and on Wednesday at Pro Day. Look forward to seeing you out there then. So we'll let you go, and shortly we will have your fellow wide receiver Tyler Vaughns on.
Yeah.
So he'll be on shortly.
Thank you guys so much. Take care.